Well, cue those first day of school jitters. This week, the NFL rookies will report to their respective training camps and get set to build some new chemistry with their new teammates, learn a new playbook, and hopefully translate some success on the football field come the 2025 NFL season. Now, for more on what to expect from these 2025 NFL rookies, let's go ahead and welcome in our own Bryant McFadden for more. B-Mac, it's always great to see you. Let's go ahead and begin with one of the biggest storylines really since the NFL draft, and that surrounds this crowded quarterback room in Cleveland. You got rookies Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel will really get a head start on this quarterback competition. But in your opinion, who enters with the slight edge?
Well, when you look at Dillon Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, I think the slight edge goes to Dillon Gabriel because he was the higher drafted player. And usually that's the case. When you're the higher drafted player, Jordan, you get the reps, you get the opportunities. You know, that's just the name of the game, the unwritten rule in the National Football League. But that does not mean Shedeur Sanders cannot gain traction in his favor throughout camp. Because if you look at what he did throughout the OTAs, regiments, you know, the mini camps, I mean, he was the talk of the town coming from Cleveland. You know, his ability to be accurate, making big time throws throughout practices and doing so in a consistent way that really it put a bigger light on who Shedeur Sanders could be for this said organization. But now everything goes right back to day one. We're going back right to the day one, you know, installs. So there lies the opportunity for Dillon Gabriel because of being the higher drafted guy. He will hear his name called first in terms of getting in the huddle. That's just the name of the game, but that doesn't mean anything because we've seen other players throughout the National Football League come into training camp further down on the depth chart, but because of really sound, productive play, they work their way up the depth chart, and I can see that easily happening for Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, that's a great point that you raise as well. And being a higher draft pick, we all know comes with some higher expectations. Now, it wouldn't be an NFL offseason without a little bit of drama, and unfortunately, the Browns are dealing with some in their running back room as they kind of navigate the situation, of course, surrounding Quinshon Judkins, who was arrested for domestic violence. However, luckily for Cleveland, they have a decent amount of talent in that running back room. And to get past this hump, they will lean on Dylan Sampson as he kind of gets a leg up here, B-Mac. What are you expecting from him?
Yeah, not just Dylan Sampson. We can't forget about Jerome Ford as well, who stepped in to be the RB1 for the Browns a year ago when Chubb was injured. So, you know, you look at Jerome Ford, he's an experienced guy. He might not be the talent that Quinshon Judkins is or Dylan Sampson is, but he's a guy that can be very, very effective in the running game. But if you're Dylan Sampson, man, you got to take this opportunity and run with it. If you look at what he did last year in the SEC, he was one of the more dominant running backs throughout SEC play. He was a scoring, impactful player, always getting into the end zone, not to mention his big play ability as well. So you don't know the status of Quinshon Judkins outside off the football field, but in terms of what this could do for Dylan Sampson, the same could be said for Jerome Ford. This definitely could open up a major opportunity for a guy like Dylan Sampson when you factor in the talent, and now he's not fighting behind Quinshon Judkins because as we see it right now, Jordan, we don't know when Quinshon will get to Cleveland.
Sticking here with the rookie running backs in the league, I'm not sure that anybody has higher expectations than Raiders rookie Ashton Jeanty. So much hype is around him right now, but what should our realistic expectations be?
Well, I do believe he will provide a really, really good impact for the Raiders. And the reason why I say that is because of his individual skill set, his contact balance, his vision. When he was birthed to only play one position, and that's the running back spot. And he has really shown how well he can just be a dominant force. Now, the issue that I have for the expectations for Ashton Jeanty is not about him, it's about what's surrounding him. Because we cannot forget, this team a year ago, in 2024, they were dead last in running the football. As a team, they had 1,357 yards for the entire season, which was dead last. They averaged 3.6 yards per carry, which was at the bottom as well. So I understand they've made some additions to the offensive line. Of course, they have a new quarterback in place, a new coaching staff in place, but they were horrible a year ago. So how much better will they be in 2025? I think they will be better, but you better believe when you're playing against the Las Vegas Raiders, until we see otherwise with the passing game, you're going to try to neutralize and slow down the running game. So that could make things a little more difficult for Ashton Jeanty. But I do believe once he gets acclimated to this NFL landscape, he's going to show the same big play ability that we saw with him throughout his Boise State career.
Good to know that you have some expectations for him. You expect him to make an immediate impact in this Raiders backfield. However, I am curious just how much of an impact, because earlier this week on HQ BMAC, our own Mike Renner said that he believes Ashton Jeanty will break the NFL rookie rushing record. You see there at the top of the board, 1,808 yards, of course, set by Eric Dickerson. What do you think? Think he breaks it? You on the same page?
Wow, I'm not quite ready to second that by Mike because of what I just mentioned. They were horrible in running the football. They've some players to the offensive line, but how much more improved will they be until we see otherwise in terms of, Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers? Who else is going to open up the passing game for Geno Smith? So when you factor in the concerns with the passing game, you stop the run. You stop the run. You stack the box until you see otherwise from other guys in the pass catching game outside of the two names that I mentioned. And you're talking about 1,800 yards. 1,800 yards. That was unbelievable. That's why that record is still standing alone right now, because that was an outlier of a year for a rookie running back. Oh, by the way, one of the greatest to ever do it in Eric Dickerson. So I'm not saying it's not reachable. I'm not saying that, but if I had to put any dollar amount on it, I think I might go the opposite direction. I'm sorry, but anything can happen.
Yeah, I'm with you. Let's play it safe. But it's a hot take that I'm all here for. It would be cool to see. Now, elsewhere, another team that has a very interesting quarterback room is the New York Giants. They picked up, of course, Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston this offseason, while also drafting quarterback out of Ole Miss, Jackson Dart. Right now, there isn't a clear quarterback competition in New York, but does Jackson Dart have the chance to force one?
Yes, potentially, no question. As you stated, I think it's Russell and then Jameis and then Jackson. But that doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? I talked about where you start with the depth chart doesn't mean you stay there. So for Jackson Dart, he has to continue to get better and earn the trust from the coaching staff offensively that they know exactly what he knows exactly what he needs to do, most importantly, and he can execute and orchestrate the offense to the way, in a way in which they can be successful and score points. So he has an opportunity, because if you're Russell, if you're Jameis, he has two new offensive playbooks they have to get acclimated to. But those older vets really don't get a lot of the reps in training camp. That's just how it is, right? So for Jackson Dart, you get the opportunities. You got to take advantage of it, and you got to showcase your skill set in these preseason moments. And the thing that actually helps Jackson Dart, when you look at how difficult the Giants' schedule is, I mean, I don't know how competitive they will be. You know what I mean? Especially when you look at the middle part of their schedule and how they start the season off. So let's say worst case scenario, they get off to a horrible start. They're 2-8 and 2-9 or 3-12. I mean, now you want to see the young fella. Now that's the opportunity that you need to get, Jackson. So when that moment happens, whenever it happens, just be prepared and ready to go.
I love hearing your perspective on some of these rookies who get set to enter this new chapter really in their careers, because you have been there before. You know what these rookie jitters are like. And kind of looking back, BMAC, on your draft day, you're a Florida boy through and through before you got drafted, of course, from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I'm curious, did you know exactly where Pittsburgh was exactly on a map? Because right now, our boy Matthew Golden needs some support, because he didn't exactly know where Green Bay was located.
Yeah, I knew where Pittsburgh was located.
Okay.
I've never been to Pittsburgh outside of them drafting me.
Hey,
but
the
I knew
FSU
where
education.
It was located.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. When it comes to geography and things like that, I'm a high level guy. State capitals and where places are. Yeah, I can go with the best of them in terms of those type of questions and trivia. So I was a bit privy to know where Pittsburgh was. But, for Matthew not knowing where Green Bay was, number one, I wonder how many Green Bay Packer games has he watched throughout his, collegiate career, because that can tell you what places are when you watch them play. And secondly, if you didn't know then, I applaud his honesty in sharing that for all of us.
Yes.
But now you need to know where Green Bay is, and most importantly, you need to know where Lambeau Field is, because that is where you're going to make your money. Lambeau Field and knowing which end zone you're planning on leaping into the most is something that he has to prioritize.
Listen, he's about to learn, and of course, a ton of eyes will continue to be on Golden and, of course, his first season, which will be important, but maybe, BMAC, not as important as the vets in this receiving group and seeing how they really respond to last season's difficulties. What are your expectations here?
Well, number one, when you talk about the difficulties with 2024 with the entire offense for the Green Bay Packers, it was solely because of health, right? You look at Jordan Love, he got injured in week 1 in a very, very entertaining game against the Philadelphia Eagles. He got injured, and he never really found his stride until later in the season. And when you don't have a healthy quarterback like a Jordan Love who's very, very skillful and mobile, it really hurts the entire flow of the offense. So now when you factor in Jordan Love, being healthy, most importantly, they're going to do numbers, especially adding a very, very explosive talent like Matthew Golden. The hard part for the Green Bay Packers is the neighborhood they're living in. They got a nice house in that neighborhood, but that neighborhood is filled with other nice houses in terms of the competition they will see in their division. That is going to be a daunting task, but when you have a healthy Jordan Love, another year within this offense, along with the pass catchers that we're talking about, and you cannot forget about Josh Jacobs, one of the best running backs, bruising running backs in the National Football League. This is a team that has balance. So they will do numbers. They just have to stay healthy. So if Jordan Love is healthy, those pass catchers that we had concerns with a year ago, I think they're going to do numbers as well.
Fingers crossed there. Lastly, I got to ask you, the Chargers camp is underway right now, and they didn't even get through one day without some major changes. How does receiver Mike Williams' really surprise retirement impact the Chargers' outlook for this upcoming season?
Well, it hurts because they already had depth concerns at the wide receiver position. Remember, that was the Achilles heel for their offense a year ago. They can run the football well, good quarterback play, offensive line was there. But outside of Ladd McConkey, you didn't really have any trustworthy pass catcher. Well, Josh Palmer was there, but he's no longer there. He's in Buffalo. So now you brought in a veteran presence and Mike Williams, a guy who's been often injured, but you just felt like he can provide a sense of depth along with another trustworthy guy, and now he's stepping away from the game, right? And kudos to him for having a heck of a career. But it puts more pressure on a guy like Trey Harris, a rookie from Ole Miss who was drafted in the 2nd round, a unique skill set, very, very long, lengthy guy, can get behind coverage, a short-handed wide receiver. But now you need him to step up to the plate because you trust Ladd McConkey. They're still trying to figure out this trust thing with Quentin Johnston, former first-rounder from years ago from TCU. He's been inconsistent, especially in terms of catching routine plays. That hasn't been his calling card. So now it puts more pressure on some of the other guys. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Chargers throughout training camp, Jordan, they start to really see who's available at the wide receiver position in terms of free agency, because there's still some notable names, you know, Amari Cooper, maybe doing business again with Keenan Allen. But as we see it right now, is Ladd McConkey and a bunch of question marks. And for a team that has playoff aspirations, you have to find another playmaker in your passing game outside of Ladd McConkey.
All right, we'll find out if we get some answers on that front and who really fills that void of that big veteran presence in that locker room that's left by Mike Williams. BMAC, stay there. Don't go anywhere. More from you in just a bit. You can get more right here on the NFL on CBS Sports HQ as it returns September 7th. The countdown is on. You can watch your local game live, of course, on CBS, or you can stream on Paramount Plus.